Am I the asshole for wanting to leave my wife after the birth of my child? I 34M have no idea how to even start this because my life feels like a damn soap opera lately. I've been married to my wife, 32F for 7 years. We were never a perfect couple, but I genuinely believed we had something real. You know when you build a life with someone, buy the house, get the dog, plan the kids, that kind of life. And I thought we were working towards that future. Until everything went to hell. About 2 years ago, my wife had a miscarriage. It was devastating. I was heartbroken, and I know she was too. But what I didn't expect was that the miscarriage would become the unraveling thread to every lie she had ever told me. One night, she broke down crying, and not the kind of grief that comes from loss, but the kind that comes from guilt. I still remember exactly how she said it. I need to tell you something before we try again. She confessed to cheating on me. Not once. Not twice. But multiple affairs. Over the course of 4 goddamn years. 4 years. I felt like I'd been punched in the throat. I couldn't even process it. I just remember sitting there, staring at her like I didn't know who she was anymore. And honestly, I didn't. I'd been sleeping next to a stranger. She said the last affair ended a year ago like that was supposed to make me feel better. Like the expiration date on betrayal somehow made it less painful. I moved out within a week. I couldn't look at her without wanting to scream. But the divorce process is slow and messy, especially in our state, and we had a house together, pets, bills, all tangled up like a web I couldn't cut through. She begged me to go to therapy. To work on things. To find us again. But how the hell do you find something that was fake for half your marriage? I refused therapy. I didn't want to fix something that was already broken into a million pieces. And maybe that's on me. Maybe someone else would have tried. But I was numb. Still, I'd go back occasionally. Check on the house. Feed the dog. Mow the lawn. And every time she'd try to suck me back in with let's just talk or do you want coffee? Then one day I let my guard down. We talked and I missed her more than I hated her. One thing led to another and yep, I slept with her. Fast forward a few weeks, she tells me she's pregnant again. And that's when everything got so much worse. So now I've got my bags packed, I'm 12 hours away for a work assignment and I get the text. I'm pregnant. I just sat there, staring at it like my phone was going to explain everything. I didn't know what to say. I mean, this wasn't some romantic moment of we're having a baby. This was an absolute emotional minefield. She's still my wife, yes. But emotionally? We were done. I had already told her I wanted a divorce. I was already halfway out the door. Hell, I was practically on a different planet. But I also couldn't be that guy who abandons his kid. She started calling me every few days. Pregnancy updates, doctor appointments, little stories about her cravings or weird baby dreams. And always it would shift into her trying to reel me back in. Maybe we could be a family again, or you know this baby is a blessing, right? Stuff like that. I kept repeating the same line. I want a co-parent, but I don't want to be married to you anymore. But something about distance can play tricks on your heart. While I was away, I started to feel conflicted. I missed her, or maybe I missed who I thought she was. I wondered if I was making the wrong call. Could we start fresh? Maybe? I hated myself for even thinking it. But grief messes with you. Grief for the life you thought you had. And just when I thought I was about to lose my damn mind, I met someone. It was slow, innocent at first. Just small talk at a work gathering that turned into coffee, and then late night walks, and then conversations that made me feel seen for the first time in years. She knew I was married. I told her everything up front, no lies. She was understanding, patient. She didn't pressure me, but she made me feel like I wasn't broken. And one day, I realized, I actually love this woman. Back home, my wife still had no clue. I didn't tell her because honestly, what would that help? She was already on the emotional edge, pregnant and hormonal and still clinging to this fantasy of a family reunion. And now the guilt started creeping in because while she's getting ready to bring a new life into the world, I'm falling in love with someone else. But I also couldn't keep pretending. I didn't want to fake it for the baby. That felt worse. And I knew if I stayed out of guilt, I'd end up resenting both of them. The closer the due date got, the more pressure she put on me. Crying over the phone. Accusing me of abandoning our family. Saying I was punishing her forever for something she already regrets. And look, maybe I am. Maybe I'm not capable of forgiveness. But I can't force myself to love her again just because there's a baby now. Then came the day I had to go home for the birth and everything exploded. I drove the 12 hours home with a knot in my stomach the whole time. I kept telling myself, you're here for the baby. Nothing more. But when I walked through the door, she looked at me like I was her salvation. Like everything was okay again. She hugged me and cried like we'd just fixed everything with one hug. I stood there frozen. I didn't push her away. I didn't hug her back either. I just existed in that moment. The house felt the same, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. I slept on the couch. She kept trying to pull me into conversations about our future and our family. I kept repeating the same line, I'm not here to reconcile. I'm here for the birth. We're still getting divorced. She ignored it every time. Our son came early one morning. I watched her scream in pain and part of me still hurt for her. Despite everything, I didn't wish pain on her. But once he was born, God, I didn't expect to feel what I did. The second I held him, something broke open in me. This little boy had no idea about betrayal or lies. He just needed love and I was ready to give him all of mine. That moment made everything real. But she took it the wrong way. She saw me holding him and smiled like we were healed. She started calling me babe again. Said things like, this is our new start. And I had to shut it down. I told her calmly but firmly that I wasn't coming back, that I still wanted the divorce. She snapped. She yelled, cried, begged. Said I was ruining our son's life, tearing our family apart. That I was a cold, heartless bastard who gave up on her. She even threw it in my face that I still slept with her during the separation. Like that erased 4 years of her cheating. Like that made us even. I didn't argue. I just kept repeating myself. I'll be in his life. But not yours. She called me selfish, emotionless, cruel. But I saw through it. It wasn't about love. It was about control. About the version of the story she wanted to believe. One where the baby fixed everything and I came crawling back. But I'm not that guy anymore. Now I'm back working, FaceTiming my son every day, planning visits. My girlfriend's still in the background, quiet and supportive. We've agreed not to tell my wife until the divorce is final. And even though I'm standing firm, it still hurts. Because I want to be the best father I can be, but I'm tied to someone who refuses to let go. Back at work, I tried to get back into a rhythm. But my mind was split in two. Half of me was worried about my son. Wondering if he was sleeping okay, eating enough, if she was using him as leverage. The other half of me was wrapped up in this new relationship I'd never expected to have. Let me say this about my girlfriend. She's been patient in ways I didn't know people could be. From the beginning, I told her the whole story. About my wife, the cheating, the baby, the emotional mess I was still crawling through. She didn't flinch. Never once tried to pressure me. She said, handle what you need to. I'm not here to complicate your life. I just want to support you. We kept things quiet. No pictures. No posts. Nothing that could be used against me. She even told me she didn't want my wife knowing about her until the divorce was final, because she didn't want to add more fuel to the fire. I agreed. The last thing I needed was to give my wife more ammo to play the victim. But here's the part no one tells you. Even when you do the right thing, it doesn't always feel good. I was living 2 lives. FaceTiming my son with a forced smile. Then going out to dinner with someone who actually brought me peace. I felt guilty being happy. Like I wasn't allowed to enjoy something real because I was still legally bound to someone who had torn me apart. And still, my wife wouldn't stop pushing. She kept texting long emotional messages about our family unit and how our son deserves both parents in the same home. She told her family I was abandoning them. Her mom called me crying, asking why I was tearing apart a good woman. I almost laughed, but I didn't. Instead, I started keeping receipts, texts, voicemails, screenshots of her emotional outbursts, just in case custody turned into a fight. I wasn't going to let her paint me as a deadbeat. I talked to my son every single day. I sing to him over video call. I send diapers and formula. I've already lined up trips to visit again soon. I'm doing everything I can to stay present without being swallowed by her chaos. Still, it eats at me. I look at this little face on my phone screen and wonder how I'm going to explain all this to him someday. How do I tell him his mom and I loved each other once? But it wasn't enough. That he wasn't a mistake. But the only beautiful thing that came out of a broken story? I don't have the answers yet, but I'm trying. A few weeks ago, I took leave and went back home, not to reconcile, not to fix anything, but to be there for my son and handle the final stretch of the slow, painful ending. My wife, soon-to-be ex, had finally agreed to move closer to her family a few hours from where I'm based. It was honestly the best option. It kept our son within reach while giving her the support system she clearly needed. But I won't lie, being back in that house, the one we bought together, the one we turned into a home before it all fell apart, it stung like hell. I walked through the empty nursery, still half decorated with little animals on the walls and folded baby clothes she probably picked out while pretending everything was okay. I sat in what used to be her bedroom, now cluttered with boxes and baby bottles. And I just felt hollow. Like I was visiting the grave of a life I used to live. She cried a lot while I was there. I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. She still kept pushing for us to rebuild, saying things like, we can make it work now for him. And I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask her where all the concern for our marriage was when she was sleeping with other men for 4 years. Instead, I stayed calm. Cold, maybe? I focused on the logistics, setting up the moving truck, signing off on the house listing, arranging temporary housing for her near her parents. I held my son every second I could. Changed diapers, stayed up with him at night, took him for walks so she could pack. I was there, but not for her. Only for him. The divorce is filed now. Uncontested. There's a waiting period, but it's moving. I'm paying support. I'm involved. I'm trying. But every time she sees me and realizes I'm not changing my mind, she flips. She tells me I've ruined her life. That I broke our family. That our son will grow up in a broken home. But here's the thing, our home was already broken. She broke it years ago. I'm just the one walking away from the rubble. And no, she still doesn't know about my girlfriend. I've kept that line drawn because I know how messy it could get. It's not shame, it's strategy. The less ammo she has, the better. My girlfriend's been a rock through all of this. Supportive, patient, understanding. When this is over, I want her to be part of my son's life. But only when the dust settles. For now, I'm just doing the best I can to start over without leaving my son behind. Since the move, things have been quieter. Not easier, not less painful, but less chaotic. My wife is settled in the new place with our son, and the distance has helped more than I expected. With her parents nearby, she's got help, and I think that's dulled the edge of her resentment at least a little. We still talk every day. Not as exes, not as people trying to fix things, but as two people who are now permanently tied together by a tiny human who has no clue how messy his parents' history is. Every FaceTime call, every baby photo, every milestone she sends me, I save them all. I've become that dad. I have a folder of his laughs, his little sleepy grunts, the video where he tried avocado and looked personally offended. It hurts not being there every day, but I make sure I'm present however I can. And that's where things get complicated. I'm finally seeing a future again. A version of me that's not weighed down by betrayal and bitterness. A version that isn't defined by what she did to us. I've been in therapy, not because she asked me to years ago, but because I needed to figure out why I stayed for so long, and why I kept ignoring my own pain. And that's been eye-opening. I'm learning how much of myself I gave up in that marriage. How many times I let my boundaries blur because I wanted to be the good husband. How I told myself it was noble to stay when it was actually self-destructive. And now, as I rebuild, I'm doing it with intention. For me, for my son, my girlfriend's still in the picture, still patient, still waiting. She hasn't pushed to meet my son. She respects the mess. But I can tell she's scared. Not of me, but of the baggage I'm bringing. She worries I'll get pulled back into my ex's orbit. That co-parenting will turn into codependence. That I'll start sacrificing myself again just to keep the peace. But that's not going to happen. I've already lived that life. I've already lost too much time being someone I wasn't in a marriage that wasn't real. The hardest part now is accepting that doing the right thing, being present, being consistent, being good, doesn't always come with peace. It comes with guilt. With people still calling me the bad guy. With a kid who will grow up asking why mommy and daddy don't live together. But at the end of the day, my son deserves to see me as a man who had the strength to leave what was killing him. A man who still showed up anyway. I don't regret loving his mother. But I don't regret leaving her either. A few weeks ago, I flew out to spend another stretch of time with my son. He's growing fast, new expressions, louder laughs, more personality. Every time I hold him, it breaks me a little that I don't get to do this every day. But it also reminds me why I made the choices I did. He deserves a dad who's present because he wants to be, not because he feels trapped. This trip was supposed to be simple. Just time with him, helping them settle in more, and handling a few final steps of the divorce. But of course, nothing with my ex is ever simple. She's still been pushing for reconciliation, even subtly. She'll say stuff like, "You're such a great dad, imagine how amazing we could be as a family," or, "I still see the man I fell in love with." At first, I ignored it. But this time, after a long day where we'd taken our son to a checkup and eaten dinner together, neutral ground, she dropped it on me hard. She said, "I know about your girlfriend." I froze. I hadn't told her. I was waiting until things were more stable, until the divorce was finalized and tensions cooled. She said she found out through a mutual friend who'd seen me out with her during one of my work trips. Apparently, small towns still talk, and social media makes everything worse. She lost it. Not yelling worse. That quiet bitter rage. She told me I'd lied to her, misled her, that I'd emotionally cheated on her while she was pregnant with my child. That I destroyed any chance of our son growing up in a whole family. That I was just like her, maybe worse. And for a moment, I almost believed her. But then I remembered every sleepless night I had during our separation, wondering who she was texting. I remembered her crying about the miscarriage after telling me about the years of betrayal. I remembered showing up anyway, still taking care of things, still being there for her. I never promised her we'd get back together. She knew where I stood. I told her the truth. That yes, I'd met someone. That no, I hadn't told her because I didn't owe her that right anymore. That we are parents, not partners. She cried. Slammed the door when I left. I haven't heard much from her since, except updates about her son. Which is honestly kind of a relief. I'm not proud of everything I've done. I've made mistakes. But I'm no longer living in the guilt she wants to trap me in. I've cut the last thread that tethered me to the fantasy that we could go back to how things were. I'm not that man anymore. And I don't think I ever want to be again. It's been a few weeks since the last time my ex and I spoke face to face. Everything now is text, short calls about our son, shared calendars, pickup times, doctor appointments. It's cold, maybe a little tense, but it's working. And honestly, that's all I wanted. I finalized the house sale. That was tough. Not because I'll miss the place, but because it felt like I was closing the door on the last 7 years of my life. Every corner of that house had memories. Some good, a lot of them tainted now. I handed her her share, kept it clean, moved on. She and the baby are now settled a couple of hours away. I drive out every other weekend. Sometimes more if I can take time off. My son lights up when he sees me. His little face just melts me. It hurts not seeing him every day. But when I am there, I'm all in. No distractions, no fights, no bitterness, just him. My girlfriend's been incredible. Patient. Understanding. Never pushed me. Never gave me ultimatums. She even told me she'd step back if it got in the way of me and my son's bond. But I didn't let her. She's not replacing anything. She's adding something new. She met him recently just for a moment. It wasn't planned, but it happened. And she was so gentle with him. My heart kind of cracked open a little wider. The contrast between what I had and what I have now is night and day. My ex weaponized love. Everything was conditional. Her affection came with guilt trips, manipulation, and secrets. With my girlfriend, it's just safe. It's real. There's no walking on eggshells. But here's the truth I've had to swallow. Part of co-parenting is accepting that you're still tied to someone who hurt you. That sometimes you'll have to stand next to them at a school function, or share a holiday schedule, or agree on medical decisions, even when the sight of them makes your stomach twist. It's not easy, but it's necessary. I'm still learning to forgive. Not her, but myself. For not leaving sooner. For ignoring the red flags. For not protecting my heart better. But at the same time, I'm proud of myself for not letting that pain define the rest of my life. My son will never grow up thinking love means betrayal and silence and second chances that never should have been given. He'll see two people who tried, failed, and chose peace over chaos. And hopefully one day he'll see the kind of love I have now and know it's possible. That's all I want. That's enough. Thanks for reading. Really.